Hello, everybody. Welcome back to today's video. Hope everybody's doing well. Today's video, we're going to be going over the updated map or prediction for the governor's election later this year in 2026. Got to take into effect that the Democrats should at least be modestly favored, if not more favored, to win a lot of these competitive races, just because they're the party out of power. Like say like during the Obama years, Republicans picked up a lot of momentum, regained a lot of what they lost, and then Republicans were in power in 2018. Democrats kind of wiped the floor a lot, so it kind of goes back and forth. But just because of the environment, Democrats should definitely be favored, and should probably have at least a decent night. Um, but without further ado, let's jump into it. I'm going to first start off with the states that are safe, that shouldn't really be competitive regardless. Oregon usually is likely Democratic for the governor's elections, so it will be left likely because of that. Colorado safe. New Mexico will now be safe. Hawaii is safe Democrat. Illinois, J.B. Pritzker should probably win his rematch against Darren Bailey by probably around 14, 15 points. Maryland will be safe. Connecticut will be safe. Rhode Island will be safe. I think their Democratic governor, Dan McKee, will be primaried out. They hate their governor. I don't fully know why, but he is not very popular at all. But he should probably get primaried. Massachusetts, safe. That is probably about it for the safe Democratic states. We'll throw in New York as well. Um, I was kind of skeptical. I think it could have gone down to likely Democratic, just because Kathy Hochul is not a strong incumbent. But her approval ratings are starting to get a little bit better over the last few months. And yeah, so she doesn't seem to have any major scandal right now that's going to cause her to go down. But she'll probably win by around 11 or 12 points. Um, she could definitely underperform on Long Island, which because her opponent Bruce Blakeman is from there, and he did pretty well in 2025, with all things considered. So we're going to definitely have New York as safe Democratic, and that'll most likely be it for the safe states. Now move on to safe Republican states. Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, the state of Nebraska, um, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, and Vermont. That is about it for all the safe Republican states. And I forgot to add that Democrats should probably win Minnesota by a safe margin. Forgot about that because Amy Klobuchar is their nominee, who is an electoral powerhouse for the Democrats in that state. Yep, those are all the safe Republican states as of now. That's just how I see it playing out. Currently, I don't think any of these states should be contested really at all. Not much of a competition. We'll now move on to likely states. As I stated earlier, I think Oregon will just barely be under 10. I think it'll be around 9 point margin. Again, Oregon doesn't usually elect their Democratic governors by huge margins. Even in 2018, it wasn't a huge margin. So I'm just leaving it at likely as of now, out of caution. That's likely Democratic. With another likely Democratic state is Maine. Again, I definitely think that it could go over 10 if Democrats are, you know, wiping the floor. They definitely could get it over 10. But I think that Republicans are running a Bush, so that might help get some moderates to cross over. But I still think it's going to be a likely Democratic win, probably around 8 or 9 points, which is typical for Maine's voting pattern and their behavior. I think that it'll definitely vote Democrat by around 9 points. Another likely is Pennsylvania. Again, it's a competitive state in nature. It's very purple. It kind of goes either way. However, they do have their Democrat governor, Josh Shapiro, running for re-election. He is a strong candidate. Kind of he's kind of interesting, right? Because he won by like around 15 points in 2022. Was that partly because he was a strong candidate? Yes, right? He was previously the attorney general of the state. He had name recognition. However, he went against a really poorly funded Republican candidate. His party didn't really back him, and he wasn't able to campaign and get votes really whatsoever. Um, so now Shapiro has the incumbency advantage. Pretty much, the Republicans missed the opportunity to get this state. I think Josh Shapiro is, now that he's an incumbent, is in a really strong position to win re-election. He might as well even win by over 10, just because Pennsylvania is a purple state. I'm going to leave it as likely. Republicans are running Stacey Garrity, who is the state treasurer, so they're running a statewide elected official. She won by 6 points in 2024. So she overperformed Donald Trump by like 5. So pretty strong candidate. I made a video about this election. I think it's kind of similar to Nevada in some circumstances, but I think that Pennsylvania will just see a likely Democrat win, probably around 9 points, is my guess. So those are all of the likely Democratic states. I don't really see any others. I'll move on to likely Republican. Alaska, pretty Republican state, but just because of ranked choice voting and just out of caution, I'm leaving it as likely Republican. It's hard to say what's going to happen because ranked choice voting could elect a Democrat. However, I don't think it's going to happen because you see, like I don't think that there's going to be more than one Republican running. I think in the end they'll make a deal and they'll just have one Democrat and one Republican. I think Alaska is just too bad of a state to elect a Democrat governor right now. But I do think their Senate race will be more interesting with Peltola running. Another likely state, Texas. I think Greg Abbott doesn't seem to have much of a problem in his primary. He's not running against any notable Democrat. I don't think they'll raise enough money to be able to really pose a threat to Abbott. He's been in the office a long time, and I think he's just established enough. He'll probably win by around 8 or 9, maybe over, but we'll have to see. But I don't think it'll be much of a competitive race, in my opinion. But I'll keep it as likely out of caution. We'll have to see how trends in South Texas are. If they revert back to the Dems, we'll really have to see. But I think Texas will remain in the red column by quite a bit. Another likely state, New Hampshire, could reach over safe, but I don't think it will. This is Republican Governor Kelly Ayotte. She's running for re-election. She has carved out more of a moderate approach as governor. I think that might play out well in the midterm. She'll probably win some independent voters and moderates. Polls show that she's likely to win re-election. You'll see a lot of ticket splitting in New Hampshire between that and the U.S. Senate election. As usual, New Hampshire's more conservative at the state level and more liberal at the federal level. But I think that she's on track to win re-election by a likely margin. Now, what's another likely state is Kansas. I don't think Kansas will particularly be easy for the Democrats to hold because they're not running like a good candidate like Laura Kelly. Their Democrat governor is retiring. She's term limited. And unless her lieutenant governor runs or Sharice Davids runs, there's no really prominent Democrats to keep this red state in the Democratic column. But just because statewide elections can be closer at times, Kansas will fall into the likely column. And that is it. That's it for the likely. Now we will jump to lean states. Now we have a few of those. Start with the Dems. Arizona, Democrat Katie Hobbs is running for re-election. She has pretty much run the campaign where she's unopposed in her primary, and Republicans have a messy primary to get through. 3 Republicans, so that's going to hurt whoever the nominee is. That's partly what got Katie Hobbs into the governor's mansion in 2022. It hurt Carrie Lake a lot when she was the nominee because she had a tough primary to go through. So it's a similar situation now. Um, Arizona has divided government. I think they like that. Republicans control the legislature. Democrats control the governor's mansion. I think Arizona will stay that way. Unless something major happens, she's probably going to win. Probably around 2 points is my guess. It's still a purple state at the end of the day, but even though it did vote for Donald Trump a lot, we'll have to see how it goes. But I think Katie Hobbs will get reelected in Arizona. Next lead Democrat state is Wisconsin. I made a video about this, so it's kind of interesting. Um, it's definitely going to be more competitive. I don't think it's going to be likely Democrat. I really don't, because you saw even in 2018, it was only like a tilt lean Democrat victory for Tony Evers. He's not running for re-election. It's an open seat. Democrats have a very messy primary to go through, and they're probably going to nominate Mandela Barnes, who isn't that strong of a candidate. He lost the U.S. Senate election to Ron Johnson in 2022. And Republicans are running Tom Tiffany, who is a U.S. representative, northern part of the state. Pretty good candidate. I just think because of the national environment, Democrats will still keep this state. But I think that it's probably going to be a lean Democrat, but it's going to still be competitive. Probably around 2 point victory for whoever the Democrats decide to nominate. Now we will move on to the lean Republican states. We have quite a few of those. We'll start with Nevada. The state has their Republican incumbent, Governor Joe Lombardo, running for re-election. He's not going to win by likely, but it'll probably be around a point or two. Just because of the environment, he won't win by a ton as the incumbent, but he'll definitely win re-election. He seems popular enough, and just like Arizona, it's divided government, so the Democrats have the legislature and Republicans control the executive branch in the state. I think people there prefer it that way, and they'll probably re-elect him. He's running against Aaron Ford, the Attorney General, who's a Democrat. Strong candidate. I just don't think he has what it takes to take down a relatively popular incumbent, sort of like neighboring Arizona. But I think that'll be like, it'll still be a key race to watch out for, but I think it's going to be still a Republican victory. Iowa, another lean Republican race. Rob Sand is their Democrat nominee, most likely. He was the state auditor. Strong candidate. He's the only statewide elected Democrat, but I just don't think he'll win. I think that he definitely won't make it close. I just think Iowa is too red of a state to vote for a Democrat governor. Even in 2018, you saw a close race, but the Republican still won it. So I still think Randy Feenstra is going to pull it off for the Republicans, but it's yet to be seen what happens. And everything is subject to change. Ohio is another leans state. This is probably going to be a very interesting race. Again, Ohio is similar to Iowa, fairly red state. I don't think it would probably vote for a Democrat governor. I do think Vivek Ramaswamy is definitely going to underperform Donald Trump's margins in the state, in the Buckeye state. However, I just think that even in 2018, you still had Mike DeWine win, and Ramaswamy's doing okay with fundraising, and he's running against Amy Acton, who isn't a bad candidate, but she's not like Tim Ryan. If Democrats ran, like say Sherrod Brown ran for governors, I'd say he'd have a good chance of flipping it. But I just don't see it happen. I think Republicans will win Ohio by around 3 or 4 points. And that is about it. We have the tilt states left. So we will start by giving the tilt Democrat states, which is Michigan. Michigan is the race that I'm actually the least sure about because it is a three-way race. It's a wild card. I really don't know how it's going to go. I'm just giving it to the Democrats just because of the national environment. But it's going to be really weird because you have a three-way race. You have Detroit's independent, former Democrat mayor running. And then you have Republicans going to run John James. Democrats are going to run Jocelyn Benson. I feel like they're both nominees on both the Republicans and Democrats are strong candidates, but it's weird because the third party candidate is taking up a lot of vote. But his policies more align with the Democrats, and he's from a big voter base in Michigan, which is Detroit. He's probably going to take a lot of votes away from the Democrats. He'll still take votes away from the Republicans, but I think that it'll definitely hurt the Democrats more than the Republicans in this case. So I think because of that, it's going to be really close. But I think Jocelyn Benson will just barely have enough votes just because of the environment. She'll have enough Democrats to still vote for her, and she'll be able to narrowly win Michigan. But I definitely could see John James win. It's going to be very close. And then tilt Republican state is Georgia. Very interesting down there. It's not really much of a race yet because both sides have a primary to get through. But Democrats aren't really running the strongest candidate down there. Keisha Lance Bottoms, I think, former Atlanta mayor. She's not really that great, doesn't have good name recognition. Republicans are going through a primary of 3 statewide elected officials, so one of them is going to emerge as the front runner for the Republicans. I think they have a better shot at holding the governor's mansion than taking down John Ossoff, and I think that's where Republicans are going to put a lot of their money in Georgia, and I think they're going to work hard and they're going to keep this seat red for the Republicans. I think that you'll see about a tilt margin hold for the Republicans. Maybe leans, but we'll have to see. But I think Republicans will just narrowly hold Georgia, and they will keep the governor's mansion Republican to succeed retiring Governor Brian Kemp. But that is how I see the governor's elections for 2026. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Really helps this channel out. And hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. See ya.